I'm
All
guessing
right.
it'd be
Oh, okay.
9 minutes.
Philosophy on Carmel. 5-minute blast of a question. Okay,
Okay,
let's go.
so this one was asked by my friend Sarah, and she's wondering how do you become a saint, and are there any differences or any new challenges for somebody who's trying to become a saint in the modern world as opposed to in previous eras?
Okay,
5 minutes. Let's
that's
try
more.
this.
That's more than a 5-minute question. I'm going to answer with the best way that I can from something I heard recently, and there are three moves. Right, one move is to find your center.
Find your center.
Find
Okay.
your center, but that center has to be Christ.
Okay.
But not necessarily. Okay, it's not about necessarily some abstract notion, but to and
I
here
was directing
here
my energy field towards Christ right then.
yeah.
It was too abstract.
Here is a great way to
It cracked me up.
to put that right.
Yeah.
Uh, Boethius.
Okay.
Have you read
No,
Consolation of
I've
Philosophy?
not.
Okay.
I've not.
All right. So one of the famous passages from Boethius, which is a book I highly recommend. He is talking to the spirit of philosophy, right? Philosophy talks about fortune,
Mm-hmm.
and they say they describe fortune as a wheel, right? And this is a trope that is actually in a lot of different religions. Especially Eastern religions. It's in Buddhism. It's in Taoism. It's certainly in. It's there beautifully in Christianity. But this notion of a wheel, and the fortune says, rise up on my spokes as you may, but don't despair when you fall into the depths. Inconsistency is my very essence. So, in other words, when you're, attached to fortune, the vicissitudes of the world, you're going to be going up and down, and it's a very anxiety-ridden place to be. So, where, if we're thinking about this as a wheel, where is the place to be then? Where you're not going to be afflicted by
in the center of the wheel.
In the center, in the hub, right? In the middle.
So you're trying not to be like super fortunate or unfortunate.
Well, you can kind of, you're riding on. You're not being carried by things. It's this different move, and it's not a stoicism. That's the important thing too. You're not just completely retracting. You're engaging in the world, but but you are going to follow something much more. And I think this is the lesson of the Beatitude, which is going back to our last discussion, what Nietzsche got wrong. It's not about ressentiment, or it's not about this kind of phony shucks, I'm just going to put everything back. It's more like, okay, living in what matters, right? So that's the first move. Finding your center and letting that center be Christ.
So to make it less abstract,
Yes.
I'm just thinking, like, let's say you want to be in the center of the wheel, and you want to move to the center from an area of good fortune. So what you do is you give away your good fortune.
Well, no. You don't. You're not chasing fortune. You're not. When you're in the middle, you're not being like.
I'm saying you're giving away the products of the thing that you could become attached to. Right.
Well, you don't have. It depends on it. Look, there are people that are that I know who are quite well off. That I think, they're not really attached to their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing: is I think, look, there are many people who have a lot of things, who they found their center. And there's a lot of people that don't have much, right? Poverty or wealth, that's not the criteria. The criteria is
Christ.
this this disposition that is Christ-like, right? So that's the first move. Second move is to admit you're a sinner, right? Usually
works.
Yeah, and recently, I've been reading a lot of Saint Francis, right, and even Saint Therese de Lisieux, and the biggies. And one of the things you read often in their books is like how how much they fall, how much they fall into sin, how much it is, and it's not in this lame self-deprecating way. It's all things. It's like, look, I fall into these things. I get these things that pop up and whatnot, and they're they're kind of going with it. Third thing is finding that thing that you're about, and that will be sort of your mission.
Okay.
Yeah. So
your vocation.
So something like that. Like, what are you about? Right?
What gifts do you have?
Exactly. What are you going to bring to the world? How are you going to make it better?
How
what's
God
your
made
focus?
You special?
Yeah. So you have a focus.
Yeah.
And I think that's something, particularly in our postmodern era, where we get so sidetracked. We're always reinventing ourselves constantly. And I think that's fine when you're younger. But I think you reach a point when you have to be like, okay, what am I about? What is my life going to be about?
Yeah.
So I think those are the main things. Now, how that's done, how those three elements are really built up and fortified. I mean, that's I think that is a matter of tremendous self-reflection, prayer, practice, whatever it might be. To find out, in some ways who you are. This is where it goes almost into a Socratic question, where you have to know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I? What is my temperament? What is my personality?
And all of these things seem not unique to the modern world.
Not unique.
In other words, it seems to me as though it takes the same difficulty to become a saint in the modern world as it had in ages past.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's the thing too. In some ways, if we say, how do you become a saint in the modern world? It's so there's all of these terrible things going on. In some respect, that's a blessing because some of the greatest saints were around. Look at Saint Augustine.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a heck of a time to be around. Right?
Oh yeah, that's true.
You had political collapse everywhere. You had,
it was as the Chinese say, interesting times.
Yes, it was the best of times. Was it right? Yeah. But you had decadence. There was decadence all around him.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different stuff, right?
Yeah.
But that was his thing, And then you look at a saint like Saint Therese, who was, one of my absolute favorites. But she was a cloistered nun at the end of the 19th century. Not a whole lot of outward strife necessarily, but a lot of inward strife. And I mean, there's all these other factors. I think, and all of these, you look at all the different saints. They're all different. Yeah. And I think too that it's important to make a distinction too between the saint that one can become and then a canonized saint. Right? I think everybody thinks of saint. They think of the canonized saint. Your Saint Patrick's.
And the saint that one can become is.
That's just I mean, there could be saints all around us.
Yeah.
The person down the street or something like this.
Okay, that's fair.
It's just being, it's being holy, right? Or is
you know
that guy Matthew Kelly. That this guy. All right, he's.
Well, we have to go soon.
Yes, but his whole thing, right? His, what the phrase that he uses for being holy is like being the best version. He's this Australian guy. So he's like being the best version of yourself, right? It's kind of almost Aristotelian, and I think look, virtue doesn't help either. I think cultivating tremendous degrees of virtue.
It doesn't help.
It doesn't hurt. I'm sorry.
Oh, it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. And I think, frankly, if you do those three things, I think virtue will kind of come out. So,
all right.
Sounds good?
I think that's good. We turned from 5 minutes to 9 minutes.
That's all right.
30 seconds.
All right, we got to go.
Yeah.
Ciao. All right.
Toodles.